Nick, thank you so much for joining us today on Between Two Quarters, one of my favorite segments that NVP does. Today we're going to talk a little bit about you, and you have such an incredible background, having already started a company, selling it to Accenture, teaming up with your co-founder, and starting another company in Workgrounds. And so super excited to dig in, talk about you, the company, your customers, and just enjoy the afternoon together.
Awesome. Love it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So to start off, would love for you to just share a little bit about you, your background, like even just where you started your career.
Cool. My name's Nick. Nick Sethi. Second-time founder, I suppose. I grew up in the Bay Area, surrounded by tech stuff, essentially. My dad was early in the semiconductor startup space. So when I went to college, I kind of knew that's exactly what I wanted to do. I met my co-founder at college, actually. We had a entrepreneurship course for the first time, and we kind of teamed up and just got along really well, and kind of together knew that we didn't really want to take the corporate job route or kind of even any regular job route. So we actually started our first company my senior year at Northwestern. We picked a domain we knew nothing about, advertising technology, and just kind of saw it to be a really interesting, big technical problem with a huge space and a huge set of opportunities. And we just wanted to tackle it from a different perspective. And that's kind of how we've approached all of our startup times, is picking kind of big, hairy problems and approaching them from an outsider's perspective. So we learned ad tech just by living it and being in it and doing it, and obviously surrounding ourselves by really great investors and smart customers and advisors. That business was really focused on enabling brands access to media buying across all these large-scale walled gardens that were emerging. So think Facebook and Twitter, and StumbleUpon was a big platform back then. And so we powered a lot of advertising to those platforms. Ran that company for about 10 years. And we were fortunate to have an exit to Accenture in 2018, late 2018. Accenture was an awesome experience for me as well. Masterclass in B2B problems.
Yep.
And one of the ones we kind of really gravitated towards was, this fact that obviously pre-COVID to some degree, but post-COVID, a lot of organizations really were asking this question about, are we a distributed organization? Do we sort of follow this kind of accidental thing that happened where lots of people through COVID migrated to different geographies and could still work and do their jobs very effectively? Or do we sort of bring everybody back to the office? And whether you believe one side or the other of that, the sort of net reality is that there was a ton of travel revolved around that, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people were coming in for meeting their colleagues and on-sites and off-sites, and I just kind of scratched my head thinking this should be a very easy logistical problem. Yet, the way the industry worked in travel is that it wasn't. It was something that you had to do very manually, writing RFPs, fax machines still involved, calling lots of hotels, and we ended up founding Workgrounds as a result of that.
I was actually exposed to the problem earlier when I worked at BetterUp, and we were a kind of like early entrant in the distributed teams, and we'd come together quarterly, and I remember just like planning our offsites was like a fiasco.
Yes.
We did Tahoe, Santa Cruz, and just like the amount of time it took to plan these 4-day events was insane.
Yeah.
Cool. So,
and we call them kind of these accidental planners, right?
Yeah,
because
totally.
It's not really in your job description to do this, especially if you're a high growth company, scaling really fast. You don't maybe have dedicated, teams dealing with travel and logistics. So, it's whoever raises their hand or just somebody says, go put this together. And the impact is huge getting your people together, but it just takes too much time and too much energy to do.
Yeah. It spans so many different teams. And I think that's the challenge with a lot of products. So they don't know how to navigate the like multifaceted enterprise sales. So tell us a little bit about how you have navigated that at Workgrounds.
Yeah, so just kind of in summary, Workgrounds is really basically a solution that helps organizations manage their hotel room blocks. And by room blocks, I really mean 9 or more people going to the same place at the same time. And there's this funny thing in travel where once you hit the number 9, everything changes. It's not online anymore. It's not digital anymore. You have to find somebody to talk to. Like I said, write sort of proposals and get details kind of communicated to you. So a lot of organizations whether they're 50 to 100 people or 10,000 plus,
Yeah.
have these motions of getting people together for all
Yeah.
kinds of reasons, right? Could be offsites, like you mentioned. Could be new joiners that are getting trained. Could be visiting customers, going to conferences, on sites. Maybe they just have multiple offices all over the world and they're just moving around, meeting each other, et cetera. And so I think as a result of that, because there's so many different flavors of group travel, there aren't really standardized owners, right? There isn't really one function across all companies that manages this stuff. And that actually creates a lot of complexity from a go-to-market standpoint. And how do you target and how do you write a singular ICP sort of persona profile, et cetera?
Because like finance pays for it, and then it's like, is HR or workplace or ops or
if you even have those organizations,
Totally.
right? I think finance is pretty clear, just because there's a part of our go-to-market, or really our mantra, is that we want to give you the benefit of the group rate, the price benefit, without the time expense, right? So save money and save time effectively. So finance obviously resonates quite well to that. Nobody wants to see their travel budget line grow, right? And this provides a great solution to basically control that by still allowing your teams to have that experience that they want. That being said, I think the way we've approached it today really is by taking the flip side of the coin, which is making the experience of utilizing the product and consuming the product really, really easy, right? To the point where within an hour, you can sign up and onboard and start to make your first request. It's designed for the non-expert. And just like we talked about the accidental planner, I think that this sort of non-expert use case for the product really allows us to go into the organization in many, many different ways, right? So sometimes we're consumed bottoms up. A random VP in engineering will say, I need to get my team together. I found this thing and I'm using it. Gone are sort of the long, expensive software procurement cycles where we have to get thousands of buy-ins and run through procurement, et cetera. And I think that model of decentralization on the sales approach gives us a lot of ability to acquire customers really fast.
So tell us maybe about like your first paying customer. How did you find them? What was their experience like? And how are they using the product today?
Yeah, so one of the first things we did was really build a list of basically what we thought were some of the best remote or hybrid organizations, companies that believed that it was a strong value proposition for them to have distributed workforces. And one of the first ones that I spoke to were the co-founders at SeatGeek, actually.
Nice.
SeatGeek is another New York-based company. Ticketing company, competing with Ticketmaster and StubHub and those types of companies. Very fast growth business, right? Actually, the founders of SeatGeek went through the same incubator program that we went through. So really leveraging our network, founder-led sales as well, was able to kind of communicate with them. And their finance team actually really gravitated very closely to it, saying, hey, we have this, we're a pre-IPO company. We want to sort of support our teams, but at the same time, we want to be really cost conscious, right? And so our solution kind of fit in very nicely because it gave them the same benefits without having to spend a ton more money. And then I think the other thing that's unusual a little bit about our model is that even though we're double-sided marketplace, we essentially make all of our commercials from the supply side. So that opens up the ability to sell into a big company like SeatGeek really easy because there's not that much friction.
Tell us a little bit about how you think AI has changed the concept of a marketplace today, and how you've been able to build up both sides in this like very AI native world.
Yeah, I mean, in so many ways, almost up and down the whole stack, really, right? All the way from the ability to actually run the value proposition, right? That wouldn't exist without a lot of the AI solutions. But I think even more so, what's interesting to me is the effect it's had on the commercials, right? We're not a seat-based model. It's not a number of users. It's not, based on some hefty onboarding fee and an annual sort of fee. It's all based on consumption. If you use it and get value, you pay for it. If you use it and don't get value, you don't pay for it.
Totally.
And so I think it puts the burden back on the software provider to really be at a point where value exchange is super clear, right? You can't sort of skirt around PowerPoint decks. I can't remember the last time I used a deck to sell because there's so much immediate value that you can procure just by getting into the tools faster.
Totally.
And I think buyers are starting to expect that in many ways, right? Don't show me prototypes. Don't show me fancy slides. Let me do the thing and see if I get value from it. The flip side to that is that, there is a low tolerance for things that do not meet the bar of value.
Yep.
And it might be a great idea and maybe not as far on the, the development cycle, but if you're not able to communicate that quickly, a lot of buyers say, come back later.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
And I think this is a really good thing for the industry as well.
Yeah, I think people in order to both differentiate, but also as a go-to-market tool, you need to be able to show ROI and say, hey, I'm going to put this, in your hands. Yeah. And what's a distinct period of time that you're going to be able to see value from this. Yeah. And then if you don't, you walk away.
Yes.
And, with, planning something they'll be able to see that.
Totally.
And so
our competition is not another provider. It's, does this person feel like they're getting more time back by doing it in this way versus doing it themselves?
Right.
And I think there's sort of another acronym maybe, is worth reinventing. We have MVP for so long.
Yeah.
It's almost like we need something that's maximally viable.
Yeah.
Right? To really demonstrate value now.
Well, it's so much around the outcome. It's not around the product. It's not like, hey, here's this really cool, fun thing.
Totally.
It's more like, okay, you need to do this thing.
Yes.
And we'll be able to do it with fewer people. And we're actually also going to save you money.
Totally. And
we can make your ops person the superhero because they're going to plan this in 5 hours instead of 5 days.
Yeah. And this is another interesting point about AI is AI the thing they're really buying, or is it just a better outcome?
Yeah.
And if it's just a better outcome, sort of, even when we market, for example, we don't talk about all the AI things. We talk about the outcome you're going to get, right? Which is more proposals, better bids, cheaper prices, faster everything.
Yeah.
AI is a thing that powers that equation. And I actually think that's probably how we'll go, where we don't really talk about we're hosted in the cloud anymore.
Yeah.
Right? That's not a feature. It's table stakes.
Yeah.
And in some ways, AI is becoming that as well.
I actually can remember when we first met you and playing around with the product. It's a very intuitive product. It's not like, oh, I know all these agents are working in the background. It's like what you're actually interfacing with makes sense and is intuitive, and AI is just becoming embedded in truly everything that we're touching on a day-to-day basis.
And from a founder perspective too, I think something we think about is not being too married to a UI or a UX, because the surfaces are all changing, right? And today maybe we consume it visually in this sort of similar software pattern, but tomorrow maybe we consume things totally differently, and we need the ability to adapt to whatever new surfaces emerge with the same power.
Yeah, it could be text, it could be voice.
Exactly.
Maybe you plan the whole thing over voice.
Could be purely my Neuralink, who knows?
Yeah.
Right? So want to be able to be future-proof from that standpoint because the world is changing so fast.
Yeah. So, the value prop is very clear, and you're able to show ROI quickly. What's your go-to-market look like, and how are you getting a lot of your customers?
Yeah, a lot of it to this day is still two big things, I'd say. Still very founder-led sales.
Yep.
We're early and still spending a lot of time, personally doing outreach, and that probably will never change.
Yep.
And then I think the other big one for me, which is actually a really important metric that we measure internally, is just referral volume, right? If our customers have good experience, they're going to share it. It's a small community of buyers. If you think about it across most of the major Fortune, companies, good experiences move like the speed of light.
Yeah.
Especially when they're in areas that are not enjoyable experiences for most people. There are some planners that really love to plan.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the accidental planner does not want to be doing that work.
Totally.
Right? And so a lot of our acquisition comes from being able to give people that energy back to focus on higher level things versus being, effectively drowning under the weight of all this planning that has to happen.
How do you and maybe every organization is different, and you're dealing with a lot of different buyers. Yeah. The buyer at a 500-person company is different from a Fortune 100, and theoretically, they both can be using the product.
Yeah.
So how do you, with maybe the smaller companies, is the time or the money a big saver for them versus the buyer who is you're probably going to have to go through more hoops,
right?
But obviously, it'll be higher utilization or higher contract value.
The way I would translate that is actually it's less about is it the money saving or the time saving. It's more about the perception of the substitute. So what I mean by that is in smaller companies, there isn't a dedicated person to do a lot of this stuff, right?
Yep.
So saving time and saving money are just like big positives.
Sure.
In a bigger organization, the challenge is that you have more discrete roles. And then it becomes if I'm going to bring this new AI tool in, is it going to change my job responsibilities?
Yeah.
And so I think part of what we really do is trying to educate our customer that, a lot of the work that we're automating is really there and designed to open up new things for that person to do and be spending their time on, right? And in some ways, we really kind of position ourselves as more of an assistant, right, than an agent or somebody that's going to do all the things for you. Because also we have to remember planning events and hotels and hospitality in general are very physical things and real human things and require a certain level of art on top of it, right? So while we can take away the procurement problems and the negotiation problems and doing things like automating rooming lists and things like that, there's always going to be a fundamental culture that you want to exude in these events that only the teams themselves know, right? And I think that our sort of mission is to make that possible for the teams to spend time on versus thousands of threads of emails with hotels.
How has the product evolved such that you can maintain that innately human component that makes that company's culture versus the agents that are going to find the let's put together 20 different contracts right now for you?
I think it's a great question, and I think we are actually very clear about this, which is we are not a curation engine. We're not telling you what to do or how to do it. We're purely a tool. And I think part of it is to stay in our lane of logistics, right? We're not going to say these are the 3 best hotels in Nashville. Based on your culture, we think you should stay here. That's not our job.
Right.
Our job is to give you the ability or the superpower to access all that inventory at scale. And it's really our customer's job to know their team, their insight. One hotel might be awesome for one company and be totally wrong for another. Right? So I think part of our mission is to really know where we're playing and then stay out of the way for our customers on the other areas. And that's, again, an area where I think there's quite a good symbiosis between what we've built and what our customer needs, because they can bring that context to the table, right? And really make it their own.
You can make them the superhero.
Exactly.
Focus on all the the higher value things.
Totally right.
So, Nick, your last company you built was before we were in an AI native world. Tell me a little bit about your learnings from that you got from building and exiting your last company to now building another company in an entirely different technical landscape.
Yeah, I think it's definitely upended everything about company building. There's probably 2 or 3 things that stick out the most. I mean, one is there's definitely this culture of do more with less, right? These tools are giving us almost like exoskeletons of different powers, right? And so whereas in the past, we would basically solve problems by adding headcount, finding more discipline, people with different disciplines, or doing training, et cetera. Now it's, okay, what can we do with the tool set that we have available? And I think you are seeing actually a lot of these companies emerge that go from 0 to 100 with less than 10 people, right? So there's sort of this new interesting age or reality around how big teams need to be to solve some of these problems. And not just initially, at scale as well, which I think is fascinating. 2, I think, unless you are in a certain type of capital business that requires a lot of manufacturing and hardware, et cetera, you should be able to build a lot with not a ton of money, right? And so I think you're starting to see sort of this interesting divergence between companies that are raising hundreds of millions of dollars to solve very, very deep problems, deep technical problems, and then a lot of vertical AI use cases that you can get to serious scale without, needing $5 to $10 million. And then I think the third area is that basically every other element or aspect of the business, from HR to recruiting to finance to content creation to how we even design and prototype, is all being attacked by these AI solutions. Which is leading to, I think, a world where companies can move a lot faster. There's, something we even measure internally is like how fast can we go from feedback that's prioritized to production. And I think you're seeing the cycles that are required. In some ways, it becomes a great moat and competitive advantage in the sense that you can move a lot faster. and don't have to kind of wait for all these dependencies to occur before you can deliver some new capability to the market. So it's totally different.
Yeah.
I remember the last time I raised a seed round, like $2 million was like a massive seed round.
Yeah.
And now it's totally changed, right? But it also gives me a lot of optimism and excitement because you can really go after a problem area and a domain much faster than ever before and have real impact with real customers really fast as well.
Totally. I think one of the best part of Workgrounds is you're able to sell into a lot of different stakeholders. But I think and it's actually it creates a moat for you all because it's a much more complex sale. Yes. How do you help stakeholders when they fall in love with the product? How do you get them, the rest of their team on board? How do you help them navigate through that?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting because, in a travel-related capability, it really touches everyone in the company once it's bought.
Sure.
Whether you're the organizer, you're the admin, sort of monitoring and looking at all of the expenses, or you're a guest and you're just going on a trip, you have an access point and a touch point. So we actually see a couple things that are kind of funny that happen. I mean, one, obviously, people move jobs and change things, and a lot of times they bring us with them, which is really fun to see.
I love that.
Yeah, not just as organizers, but as guests.
Wow.
Saying, I had this experience. And I think one thing that we're finding, especially when you're kind of creating a new capability that never existed before in a market, is there's an initial threshold of, I didn't even know there was a better way to do this. I thought that my sending the RFP over a fax machine was the best way to do this.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of like a mind-blown moment of, shit, this is way better.
Yeah.
And then I think, from a overall organization standpoint, I think there's a lot of love that happens when a company can realize that they can, for their 9 or more traveler use cases, save a ton of money, usually about 30 to 40% on average, reduce the amount of their own headcount having to do the planning.
Yeah.
And it costs them nothing to do this. No upfront cost and no long-term cost either, right? Because of our business model. So there's this really interesting opportunity where if we can truly align to the outcome of the business, then it sings really well.
Yeah, and that they're going to live the experience of how magical it was for them. So in the business model, tell us a little bit about that business model.
Yeah.
Is it the hotels that are paying?
Yeah. So effectively, hotels, in many cases, something like 40 to 50% of their revenue comes from groups.
Wow.
So they're always hungry for more groups, and more leads to groups. And so when you sign on to Workgrounds, you effectively are able to introduce a much larger scope of that proposal that you're sending out to many, many more properties, which gives more properties a chance to win the deal. Right. And so when a deal is won, a customer selects a hotel, the hotel pays a commission effectively. And that ends up being part of our business model. What's also really fascinating, though, is that as we've seen bigger levels of scale, there's actually great opportunity to revenue share that commission back with our customer. So in some cases, which is really interesting, is we end up getting brought in by a customer and we end up cutting them checks.
Oh my gosh.
Every quarter.
Yeah.
Just based on the amount of spend and scale that they're utilizing the platform for. So, if anybody listening to this has any use cases of 9 or more hotel rooms for their teams, give us a shout.
Love it. My last question for you, rapid fire. What is your company's superpower?
Oh, man. I think it's really so one choice we made early on is that we really went full throttle on distributed work. So we have no office. We have team members all over the world.
Wow.
We have a very light meeting culture. We have one meeting a week effectively.
Wow.
And I think the superpower there is we've really developed an internal culture of writing things down, context sharing, which is so important, even in a in-office environment. And oftentimes gets missed because, you can just kind of swivel your chair and go talk to somebody. And so I think one of our longer-term moats as a business is going to be the operating model that we've decided to build around remote work. It's definitely not something that you have to have to be successful. It's a choice we made both because we want to optimize flexibility for our team, respect for the team, and remove sort of these arbitrary barriers of 9 to 5 and you have to work in an office, et cetera, et cetera.
And you're also coming from, you and your co-founder have such deep trust that you already have that bedrock of trust that you're building off of.
Yeah, we worked together in startups for 15 years now. And so I sometimes joke I've been married to my co-founder longer than my wife. But that's exactly the right foundation that's required to build that level of trust. And then also goes back to what we talked about with recruiting, where when you add a new person into that kind of structure, there is a really high bar of expectation to meet, right? Before you can be successful in that type of environment. It's not for everyone, but for the folks that it is for, it works really, really well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, thank you so much.
Thanks
for joining us on Between Two Quarters. And I want to go on a trip now. Like, I want to come along with one of your customers because it sounds amazing.
We'll make it happen. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.